Hey fans, on November 10th, we lost the legendary voice actor Kevin Conroy. For those who don't know, Kevin Conroy was the voice of Batman. He had been the voice of Batman since 1992. Um, and today's show is dedicated to his life as being the voice of Batman and bringing life to that character, and sort of a thank you for being such a good human being. Because if you follow him on Twitter, he was a fantastic guy, and he was nice enough to take a picture with this guy. So this episode is dedicated to the definitive Batman, Kevin Conroy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of All-Star Fandom. This episode is going to be dedicated to Kevin Conroy, legendary voice actor who voiced Batman from 1992 all the way to 2022. He's probably the most tenured voiced Batman of all time when it comes to DC properties and things of that nature. Kevin Conroy, when I think of Batman, I think of him. I think of his voice. His voice is definitely seared into my head. I can't even read a comic book without, when we get to Batman's part, that voice being the voice I hear when I read. From 1992, the start of Batman the Animated Series, since then, he's been in multiple projects of Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, Batman, Superman Apocalypse, Public Enemies, Assault on Arkham, Justice League Doom. The list goes on. Mask of the Phantasm, just keep Batwoman. It goes on and on. Injustice 1 and 2, the video games, along with the Arkham series 2. He has been that voice, that constant voice of Batman. And this episode, just want to go over, just want to review and celebrate a few things from his life and what he meant to me as a voice actor when it came to donning the proverbial cowl of Batman. I was lucky enough during my time in Oklahoma City, I got to meet him at a comic book convention, and that comic book convention, he was able to sign that right behind me, that picture right behind me. I remember like it was yesterday. I work in athletics, so I had a football game on that Saturday, and the convention was only in town for one more day on Sunday. So worked all day for a football game, and then that Sunday morning, toward afternoon, got up and drove to Oklahoma City. From Shawnee, Oklahoma. You can guys MapQuest that if you want. MapQuest, wow, that was old. Google Maps that if you want. But yeah, I went to that. I was supposed to meet a friend there. She came later on during the convention, but I got there early, no surprise there. And I saw that his line was short. I was like, I can probably get some quality time with Kevin Conroy, but I don't have anything from the sign. So I went down to this booth that was like 4 or 5 booths down from where his booth was, and they were selling posters. And I happened to see that Batman Animated Series poster, which is an iconic image from the end of the show. At the beginning of the intro, it's the end of the intro. And I was like, okay, I thought this through. I was like, okay, if I go in line now, I can go through there, get him to sign this, talk to him a little bit. Then I get to go back through that line again with my friend who's showing up when she gets her stuff signed. So I was like, okay, great, let's do this. So I went, got in line, went right up to him. There was no one else behind me. So I think I said something to the effect like, hi, Mr. Conroy, I'm a big fan. When I read Batman or do anything Batman or mimic Batman, it's your voice. And I just want to thank you for being the voice of Batman. You've made like an impact in my life or something like that. Or something. It was very fanboy like, but he was super nice. He was one of the rare people who asked how to spell my name and really was like, okay, this is how he spells his name. But he wrote on that sign, to Dia, and I am Batman. And he is the Batman that I always associate with when I associate him with in any medium, honestly. To finish off that story, I got back in line with my friend because I was like, "Hey, you can get a picture down. You can get a poster down here. Let's go down here. Let's get you a poster, and we'll come back and we'll get in line and sign it." But let me rewind that. When I was in line too, like obviously for that you sort of pay for the autograph. I can't remember how much it was. It wasn't much, but he asked after that. He was like, "Hey, you want to take a picture?" And I didn't know if it was cost anything or anything like that. I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, he gave his friend his phone, and you can see in that picture, like I'm super startled and I'm very surprised by how tall this man is. But Kevin Conroy was the nicest man. I went back through the line and told him like, "Hey, I brought my friend back. She's here." He was like, "Oh, you couldn't wait for your friend the first time, or he didn't wait for you the first time." Really, really nice human being. Experience of a lifetime when it comes to meeting a person who's impacted your life from, say, like 6 or 7 or so years old, all the way to me being an adult now. His voice has been the voice of Batman. The 1992 Batman started in 1992 with the Batman animated series, one of the greatest animated series of all time. It's on the list where it goes for me: Batman animated series, maybe X-Men, the 90s X-Men, and maybe Spider-Man, the 90s. But my constant is always Batman the animated series. He went on, he voiced that for years, and then he voiced Batman in Justice League and multiple DC movies, DC animated movies. And from all the times that we had somebody else in the cowl in live action, he was the only constant Batman, and he hasn't been the only person to voice Batman over through those years. DC will pull him in on multiple projects over the years. You'd have other people casted as Batman. Peter Weller, for instance, who played RoboCop, he was Old Man Batman. I think Ron Perlman even voiced him in a video game as well. But Kevin Conroy was that constant over multiple forms of media. When it came to cartoons, he was there. Animated movies, he was there. Video games. The Batman Arkham series is one of the best video game series of all time, especially when it comes to superhero video games of all time. The third one, we can go back, not the third one. The third one was the other one, but Arkham Knight, we can go back and forth on that one of being a good one or a bad one. It was just those Batmobile stages that turns into tanks. If you're out there, you know what I'm talking about. But for him to voice those games and playing, like you actually get to play as Batman, being voiced by Kevin Conroy, that blew my mind. But Kevin Conroy just seemed like he was an extremely nice man. I followed him on Twitter, and the thing is, like I didn't even know. Well, I don't think it was made public that he was even sick or battling with cancer. I think it was intestinal cancer or of some sort like that. But now knowing, that he's got from 1992 to 2022 to be the voice of Batman and to leave such an impact on the lives of kids who grew up like myself watching Batman, being that catalyst that drove me to comic books or drove me to all the animated series. It was just an impact. He had a very impactful voice. He was Batman. I don't know any other way to put it. And the great thing about having that consistent voice as Batman, and people will know, like I can be, when it comes to animated DC properties involving Batman, I can be a bit bougie because I'll look at the credits, and again, I'll be a nerd and look at the credits, and if Kevin Conroy's name's not on there, my anticipation went from about here to here. Still great voice actors who voice Batman, but no one has had the tenure as long as Kevin Conroy has. And just him being able to portray Bruce Wayne and Batman and sort of have that duality where like live action Batmans today all have that voice, you know, the voice. Where are the drugs going? That voice. And then Bruce Wayne just still not working. The best to do that was Ben Affleck, but they had like the little the thing that distorted his voice. But when it came to Kevin Conroy's portrayal of Bruce Wayne, he was charming, he was likable, he took care of business, you liked him. And then you go over to Batman, you could tell like it was all business, no messing around, none of that. So he was the first to really have that duality between Batman and Bruce Wayne. And he also, and if you ever have a chance, look it up. I think it might be on YouTube. I think it might be on HBO Max too. But it talks about it's like it's like the making of the Batman animated series, and you can hear or not hear, you can see the excitement in Kevin Conroy's face when he talked about being Batman and playing Batman, and then having this long tenure as Batman where fans love him so much and DC loved him so much that he would come back for multiple projects throughout his life here. But yeah, just one, this video is a tribute to the guy, to the man who has been our most consistent Batman. And if you don't believe me, just go on, you don't even have to get HBO Max. Go on YouTube, look at a couple of Batman animated series episodes or videos or clips or anything like that, especially Justice League. When he got to Justice League, he was in his bag on those. Like I'll just search for Batman Justice League cartoons and just watch on the regular because they were that good. Cartoons were that good, the voice actor was that good. But Kevin Conroy, I could sit here and talk about him all day. I could sit here and talk about how, like at times when I was growing up in school, you know, you get picked on here and there. And I just remember, you know, you get the constant ear jokes, you know, you've heard them all. I definitely heard them all. But growing up, you're on the bus or somebody like ragging on you and you're super young. You sort of just have something in mind like, okay, I just want to get off this bus. I just want to go home and do this. And what my go home and do this thing was watch one of three things once I finished playing. It was either the 1990s Ninja Turtles movie, masterpiece. It was either Batman 89 with Michael Keaton, or it was the Batman animated series, because about that time, it was on that Cartoon Network block of shows after school. So knowing like I just gotta get through this crap essentially and make it home to watch this and relax, and like for an hour, if they did the back-to-back episodes, just sit and, you know, listen to Kevin Conroy voice as Batman. There was just something about his voice that drew you to him, and there was just something about him being able to play Batman and Bruce Wayne perfectly, and he's going to be definitely missed. I could sit here and talk about Kevin Conroy all night, but I will definitely miss him. There's more people who've donned the proverbial cowl in animated movies who do a fantastic job, but like I said before, and I don't like saying this sometimes because I don't want to, you know, dilute anybody or take anybody else down, but when it comes to Batman's, he's my Batman. He's the guy who, when I'm reading a comic book, I hear. He's the guy when I see a picture, I hear. He's the guy who quotes I remember more than anybody. One of my favorite movies, Justice League Doom, he, again, just to show how powerful Batman was, again, this is a separate discussion, but he had plans to destroy the Justice League, and Vandal Savage found those plans and put them into action, and everybody was getting taken out, and I think Batman was on the intercom, and Batman was like, there's an attack on the Justice League, and somebody else said, by who? By me. And it was just like, that gives me goosebumps thinking now. But just some fantastic moments in my life with Kevin Conroy as Batman. I'm sure I'm not the only one who who's gonna miss him. I think within like the 24 hours of his passing being announced, there were about 500,000 mentions on Twitter of Batman and Kevin Conroy. So that should, I hope he knows, or he knew, how much he meant to DC fans like myself and like so many others, that he made Batman who we think of Batman being today. So, Kevin Conroy, we're gonna miss you. Rest in peace. And again, you are the definitive Batman of this generation.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am